Hi everybody, it's Lisa Davies with our next episode of a Get Life Moment. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Angie Simmons, who is a mental wellness mentor, an author, and are you the founder of the Wealth Development Foundation? Wealth Development Foundation.
Yeah, Growth Development Foundation. Yes, I am.
Growth Development Foundation. Yeah, put my teeth back in. So yeah, quite an array of different things you've got going on there. I think the thing that really drew to me when I met you through networking was this, this mental health or mental wellness mentor that really drew me in. I thought, it's so much of this time and what's needed. But for those people who don't know you, who are watching today's episode, who is Angie Simmons?
Hi to those that are watching. I'm Angie from Mansfield. I am a single mum. So that's my background. Who am I? As I said earlier, I'm a mental wellness mentor, but that has come from my story and the journey that I've been on for the best part of 20 years.
Wow. Yeah. So share a little bit of that journey with us. How did you get to be in this place where you have taken on this mantle of, mental wellness mentor? What's the journey?
I have been quite entrepreneurial since I was young, not realizing how entrepreneurial, it's my turn to get my teeth in now, entrepreneurial I was until doing some, inner work, which I have been doing for the best part of 6.5 years.
Yeah.
Like most people, we all start with a life that we want to strive, we want to achieve, and then life just throws a few curveballs or some massive curveballs at us. And that's definitely what's happened to me. As I say, from a very early age, I was quite entrepreneurial. I realised at the age of 13, that I could knock on 20 doors and carol sing, or I could get out my comfort zone and go and sing in the local pub and earn twice as much money in an hour.
Well, there you go. You see, you got it all worked out already.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. That was the start of it, I suppose. I had my own little hairdressing job when I got sacked at the age of 17 and a half. I'd worked really hard because I left school with no qualifications because I was bringing up my little brother. I was helping my mum. She'd got 4 of us, bless her, 3 teenagers and then a baby. But unfortunately, mum was going through a lot of stuff herself. And I don't mind sharing, but her marriage wasn't the best marriage ever. So I was helping mum a hell of a lot with my baby brother. And so I didn't really go to school. And also there was part times when mum couldn't really afford to send us to school. So we used to have to hide upstairs and then come downstairs, creep downstairs and slam the door to make out we've just come back from school, sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I left school with 2 qualifications in art, and that was it.
So a creative mind then.
Very creative.
Creative mind.
I didn't realise that as well. But I went to work in a place in Mansfield, which was a hairdressing salon, but it was like an academy that trained people. I started doing that, but I was also working in a nightclub at the age of 17. They didn't know my age. I looked a little bit.
Are you allowed to do that?
No, but they didn't ask, so I just did. But it come to the point where one day I just couldn't make it to work, and I got sacked. Basically, I'd worked really hard to do what because I'd actually got my own column doing people's hair, but I'd not got the qualifications. Yeah. So I was literally back to square one again. So I started walking around the local place doing people's hair, same thing again, But then it was just, I decided to leave, go and do qualifications. And I'd followed that role for years and years and years, because that's what we're taught, to get a good education, to get qualifications, so you can climb the corporate ladder. And I'd done that so many times with, I went into catering, and I'd started as a pot washer, I'd started as a cleaner, worked my way right up to being a restaurant manager, a food safety and healthy safety trainer, went all over the country being a chef trainer, all that sort of stuff. And then I got the rug pulled from underneath my feet, and I basically had a breakdown, and not a major one, but enough for me to just go, I can't do this anymore. Um,
And were there nudges along the way, or did it just come like a out of the blue? Were you not expecting it?
No, out of the blue. I was working so hard, and I was getting, you know, messages that, oh, you're doing a fantastic job, and but then they changed the role of the chef trainer and restaurant, you know, thingy, because they were doing them in house then. So because I was going all over the country and absolutely loved that job.
Yeah.
And I think it was the part of that I was enabling other people
Mm.
to be good at their job, but traveling as well.
Yeah.
So then I got married to my late brother's best friend, which is another story. And we had our beautiful daughter 2 years later, summer. And that was in 2000, I've got to get the dates right now because I know I'm like 2005. And so I had my daughter 2005. And because of the way that it had been going, you know, with work, I was still in catering, I was still working hard, but I was noticing that it was impacting my health because I was working 80 odd hours a week as a chef. People don't realize how hard chefs work.
Anything in hospitality is really tough. I don't think people realize, especially, you know, with the everything we're hearing on the news at the moment with the current situation and hospitality. It's a really tough industry to be in when things are going well, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And you know, the heat that you have to work in, you can't have the doors open obviously because of flies and stuff. It's like walking into an oven, and you've got to work in that oven for literally 8 to 10 hours. Sometimes I was working 14 hours non-stop. And yeah, then you've got people complaining because there's something slightly wrong and you're like, ah. So very stressful, and it does impact people's mental health massively.
Yeah.
You know, chefs are very angry. Which
yeah, well, I mean, you've got the atypical sort of Gordon Ramsay type personality, and unless you've kind of worked around that environment, you can't understand why people are like that. But actually, it is a very high pressure sort of environment, isn't it?
It is, definitely. So yeah, my husband at the time said to me, you know, well, so if you don't want to do catering anymore, what do you want to do? And I thought, no. And he says, what about university? You can imagine the words that came out of my mouth. University, I'd left school with 2 qualifications in art. What did I know about going to university? But he pushed me and I decided to go. And I was loving it because it was in animal management. I absolutely love animals, always have done. And I just thought, well, why not? Let's give it a go and see what happens. And I was doing ever so well. My daughter was 1. I was really enjoying the studies. And then the day after my daughter's birthday, on the 17th of February 2007, my best friend, my brother, was killed on the road on the way to my house.
Oh no.
He was on his way to my house for a motorbike ride. What I didn't say is I used to live down south. And when he actually came to see me, I was a motorbike rider. So I'd passed my passion of motorbikes onto my brother. And I still remember the call. It was me that got the first call, and then it was my job to inform all the family to get them to the hospital. And I think the worst call was ringing my brother, who was in Afghanistan at the time in the army, and having to inform him, you know, because he stood there and he was on the phone saying, why is Padre looking at me? What's happened to Dad? And I was like, not Dad. And it will stay with me forever, Lisa. You know, that you know, part of me died that day as well. Because not only did I blame myself at the time for his death, but unfortunately for me, my biological father did too. In fact, his words were, you should have died, not your brother. So,
and where did that come from? Was that just his grief speaking?
I think part of it was grief, part of it was anger. You know, when people are grieving, we go through so many different emotions, and half the time we don't remember a lot of stuff. You live in this cloud of, I can't explain it. It's like you're somewhere else. I remember people saying to me, yeah, I've said such and such, and I've gone, have you? I don't remember that. And we had a conversation. I completely not, you know, so, but so I think it was anger, I think it was pain, but there was a little bit of guilt there too. Because my biological father was a motorbike he had his own garage.
Right.
And my brother had crashed that bike a few times, and he'd okayed it to go back on the road. So I think I don't know. I tried. We did make up. In the end, I said to him, "Look, you said some things that you shouldn't have said, and I said some things I shouldn't have said because I retaliated."
Yeah.
And sometimes, and we do that in times of stress and pain.
Trauma. It's a huge trauma.
Yeah, and you automatically react. You don't think straight. And I went up to see my biological father and said to him, look, I said some stuff, you said some stuff, lying under the sand. And he just looked at me, and I just thought, okay, and I left. And then I went back up about a week later, and he welcomed me as if nothing had happened.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all good. So that was when I call it the thick ash. I used to call it the fog. Fog, and it turned into thick ash. It literally was choking me. Because now I was, my mum fell apart, my biological father fell apart. So it was painful for them. Now I've never even been there, so I wouldn't want to even understand, or I did try.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened to me, was I was trying to get into their shoes, thinking, well, my daughter, like I say, she just turned 2 the day before. What if something happened to her? How would I feel? But I just went on a downward spiral because of the pain, organising a funeral, trying to do university, someone was 2. I designed his gravestone. I just went into this, I was keeping myself busy.
Yeah.
But what came with that was I was drinking like a fish, as well as popping the antidepressants like Smarties, which is no good combination. But what I was doing, Lisa, I was trying to shut this up.
Numbing it.
Because I didn't know any better, to be
Mm.
honest. And what that actually transpired was then on Boxing Day 2009, my husband left it.
Right.
We'd met through my brother. And I don't blame him for leaving, to be fair, because I wanted to leave, but just not in the way he did. I wanted to be with Tony.
Yeah.
And he fell apart, I fell apart, and we just couldn't connect anymore.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we're best friends now. We're really good friends now. Wasn't very nice for about 2 years, but things eventually calmed down. But what I did do as well was I went on a spending spree. Anything to get that dopamine hit, but I didn't know that at the time. I was looking outside to make me feel happy on the inside. So anything that was giving me some sort of pleasure, going out, seeing my friends, having that drink, anything that made me feel happy inside, even if it was for a couple of hours, I just kept doing lots of it.
But it doesn't last, does it? It's not sustainable.
Not at all. Because obviously with Connie leaving, I ended up working a full-time kennel manager's job, and I was dog grooming part-time because with the university thing, it's really hard to get into animal management jobs, really hard, which is something I didn't realise. These people that are in kennels and think, oh, they're just cleaning kennels out. The amount of work that has to go in to you.
We used to have kennels. We used to have a family kennel, so I know
it's hard work, yeah. But it's also the qualifications I had to get to be able to clean up a dog kennel was just phenomenal. So then what that was, because I was leaving the house at 6:30, I wasn't getting until 6:30. I never saw Summer.
No.
I didn't know that she was being picked on at school, didn't know she was at the bottom of her class. She was a very unhappy child, and I'm not surprised because she was following me.
So what was the turning point, Angie? So I mean, huge trauma there that most people watching can't even start to understand what that trauma must have felt like. What was the turning point? How did that turn around to get you to where you are now?
Well, I met up with an old friend that I'd not seen for the best part of 20 years. We were on Facebook, and she just messaged me and said, "Hey, sweetheart, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, hi," and we arranged to have a coffee together and just reconnect. And but unfortunately, she told me she was a therapist.
Synchronistic, you see. The universe works in very mysterious ways.
Well, I think I chewed her both ears off for a whole hour, just telling her how much in debt I was, how stressed I was, how unhappy I was. You know, there was so much going on. And she basically said, look, I might have something for you. And she gave me a CD. So if there's anybody out there, you know, that it is a CD about becoming an entrepreneur, but what it did do was get me on a path of personal development.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Making the Shift by Darren Hardy. And she said to me, put that in your, because she knew obviously I was doing my own dog grooming business. And she said to me, put that in your car or my van, because it was a little postie van. And me and Summer we nicknamed it the mushroom van. Because it didn't have any heating. So in the winter, we were scraping the insiders of the window, never mind the outsides. And we were in hat, scarf, gloves. But what I did do is have an hour, 2-hour journey round trip a day to go to work. So I was listening to this CD. She said, put it in your car, listen to it on the way home, and then let me know what you think. Well, I left it in my van, and I heard a great quote by a guy called Jim Rohn, and it says, for things to change, you've got to change.
Yes.
For things to get better, you've got to get better. And I just thought, wow. And as I say, the person I was at the time, how'd I do that? But what I did hear was, when you're listening to stuff in the car, you can actually get a PhD of your choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. It's true. Yeah.
So, all these people that are driving to work and driving to back to and from work or wherever, 90% of the time we're either listening to music or we've got that radio on with the negative news.
Yeah.
And all that does, there's not much positive stuff going up on news. And all that does is feed the anxiety and the depression that most people suffer from, but don't even know they've got it.
Yeah.
And it was, that was what was making me worse. So I started listening to this and I thought, you know what, I'm having a PhD in me.
Yes.
And I started listening. And I started listening while I was dog grooming too. It made me look at my life and I just thought, what am I doing? Why am I working to build somebody else's future when all she did was pull me down and work me harder?
Yeah.
And I went into work and I asked her for 2 days off a month. Said to her, my depression was getting worse. I was forgetting things. I was making mistakes. And I just asked for an extra 2 days off a month just to give me that break.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me the question, how's your dog grooming business going? And I said, well, it's going okay. It's paying me about £200 a month, which is paying my credit card off, which was about £15,000. And she said to me, you need to decide whether it's your job or your business.
I'm sure you made the right choice at that point.
I don't burn bridges. It's one I blow them up. So, yeah. And I drove home going, oh my, what have I done? What have I done? The anxiety that I was feeling on the way home, and the amount of times I thought, just turn around and tell you sorry. Turn around and say sorry. And it was like, no, stick to your guns. You've got to start looking after you and Summer. And I do believe that was just that one CD that I was listening to that was giving me that confidence to say, no, enough. So I had to decide that the dog grooming was gonna, it started earning me a full-time wage within 6 months.
Yeah.
But the best part about it, Lisa, was I was able to take Summer to school. I was able to pick her up. I was able to be there for a sports day. And her confidence grew too, to the point that she stopped the bully. Her grades got better. They got better pretty quickly. But this was 6.5 years ago when I started that journey. She wanted to follow her dream as an actress. And I think that was about 5 years ago. She's been on the West End twice.
Wow, incredible.
It's not about just us, it's how it impacts our children, because she used to say to me, Mom, where's Mr. Part-Time Man? Mom, can we listen to Mr. Part-Time Man? And I was like, yes, darling, which is Jim Rohn, because he talked about working part-time, but he always talks about working full-time on you.
Yes. Yeah.
That is what I have done. I've literally, I've got my own library now, whereas, I'm always reading. I read probably when I first started, because I wasn't really a reader, if I'm honest, unless it was Harry Potter or something like that. And I started reading probably about 5 pages a day. But I was listening.
Yeah.
And I said to somebody, basically, when these are busy, when your fingers are busy and your mind gets to walk, when you're listening to something in the background, you might not hear it all, but what you will hear will be priceless.
Yeah, it goes straight into that subconscious mind, and it's filed in the filing cabinet. Yeah, absolutely. To be drawn upon as and when you need it, for sure. Absolutely. So how did that lead you to becoming an author then? So tell us about that.
Well, part of my journey was starting to become I started seeing a therapist, which I am so grateful for. It was hard, and for anybody that does suffer with mental health and you get offered or introduced to a therapist, it's very much hard work, because what you're trying to do is get out your comfort zone. As you said earlier, you're basically rewiring the subconscious, which is hard to do, but it's been priceless because it's enabled me to build a relationship that I never thought possible, and that relationship was with my mum. I was brought up not to cry, it was weakness. Not to talk to people, that's weakness. If you talk to people, you let people in, they're going to hurt you. So I was very guarded, I was very abrupt, very angry with people, and that was not me being nasty to people, but it was my mechanism to keep people away from me.
Yeah, and it was your conditioning, clearly, from whatever
Yeah,
your mum had experienced.
So, but my mum, bless her, she wore a heart on her sleeve. She cried at her heartbeat. So you can imagine, as soon as she cried, I got, oh. So we didn't have a great relationship, but the therapist, when I was going through stuff, was enabled me to open doors and pick things out and go, so I talked to my mum. And one day she got really upset and she says, it's not about, what have I done wrong today? And I went, it's not about you doing anything wrong. It's about me getting answers that I need to answer so I can put this away.
Yeah.
Well, February the 3rd, 2018, she passed away. And it started all over again. By my biological father. But this time I was a little different. This time I felt a little bit more like Batfink. But some bullets were still getting through. So my personal development that I was doing at the time had got me to where I'd got to, but I needed more.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about journaling, but I didn't really get it. And in my mum's effects, I found her little almanac diary. And bless my mum, she lived in a council house, and we basically at a funeral said she was the creator of her own life. In other words, she got her own little museum.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody knows, but when you're in a council house, you have 2 weeks to clear it.
Right, I didn't know that.
I had a hell of a lot to clear.
Mm.
So not only was I organising yet another funeral, I was also helping my big brother, who was, at the time, he'd been living with mum, he wasn't claiming. So all of a sudden, he's got nowhere to live and he wasn't working, so he'd got no money, so trying to help him get somewhere, clear mum's house, organise a funeral, plus the actions of other people yet again, plus my daughter was very ill because of all the stress.
Yeah.
So I started writing down my thoughts in the morning and my feelings in the evening. And then I started, most importantly, I put like a little book symbol. Was I reading? I put an ear symbol. Was I listening? Most importantly, was there a glass of wine there or a bottle of wine? So I was monitoring my thoughts, feelings, and actions before I'd even realised what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was putting like a smiley face or a sad face. And it was only probably about 20 lines, if that, in this diary. So I knew I needed more because it was helping me. And I thought, what is this? This is really helping me get through some stuff. I needed something to help me anchor down on the positive when my whole world was crushing me again. I felt like the thick ass was choking me again. So I basically designed this little beauty. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. Fabulous.
And it's basically, it's a bit chunky. It's a year-long.
It is. It's like War and Peace.
It is. Well, it's priceless. It it's a year-long undated journal, so it can be brought at any particular time, but it's designed to help people monitor those daily thoughts, feelings and actions that we so often miss, but are paramount to our health and well-being. See, I didn't realize what I was designing until I knew it was working, but I didn't know why or how it was working. So I went on a discovery path to find out why it was working, to find out it's backed by neuroscience. And I was like,
absolutely.
wow.
Absolutely. And it was like you channeled it from the universe, because you were doing it without even knowing the science behind it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And proving that it works.
Absolutely, it does. And it's been helping so many people, which has been, great. I just asked people to, at first, when I first launched it, I was more or less giving it away. Just to ask people, can you try this out and let me know? And to people now buying the second one at full price. And, it was just, I knew it worked for me, but I needed to know it was working for other people as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, it's life-changing, because it's not just the daily page. As I say, it's structured as well, but it's got space for planning goals. It's got space for reflecting on what you've learned over the last month. It's got space to monitor your moods and the moon, because I'm one of the things that happened when Mum passed away, she was very quite spiritual, and I was until my brother died. It was like I shut everything down like Green Dot stores. But when my mum passed away, it all started opening again. And I just thought, no, I need to let this flourish, because that was when I was at my best. And, I had somebody say, how dare you keep your talent to yourself?
Yeah, why deny the world your wonder?
And I just thought, and then I was going, and it goes back to the, what I did get called, I said about I should have died, not my brother, but it was a devil worship. That was the words that stuck with me for a long time. And that was because of my spiritual beliefs. So I shut it, and I thought, no, just because one person has said that, there's so many people need that, because it's about connecting the mind, body and spirit.
Yes.
So it's not just, we can, I personally, it's my personal belief, this is a meet suit.
Yeah.
We are spiritual beings. And when we're able to connect everything, that's when everything starts, you get more understanding and you're able to move forward better.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you how does that manifest itself now, as in this role of being a mentor for mental well-being, with the journaling? How does that show up for people now? If people wanted to work with that, how do they do that?
Right. So how does that work? I've turned my mess into my message. So the work that I've done for the past 6.5 years is turned into my personal development toolkit, is the best way. It's I do 8 daily steps, and that is what the daily page of the journal is based on. But what I've been doing and it's, wow, I can't believe it's happening. quite exciting, but also nerve-wracking, but it's because I'm getting out of my comfort zone. And my message to anybody out there, just follow your passion, follow your heart, because you never know where it'll take you. Because in 2 weeks' time, I'm actually launching my own unique 12-week mentorship program that teaches the science behind connecting the mind, body and spirit. So it's all the aspects of my journal and a lot more. And I didn't even see this coming in January. I met up with a lady, and she saw the journal. She went, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, I know it's brilliant, is it? She went, you don't realize what you've designed, do you? And I was like, what do you mean? She went, this is a training program. And I was like, is it? And then what happened was COVID hit, and I felt my own anxiety start again. And I thought, whoa, because I feel mine in my chest, in my solar plexus. I just thought, oh, what's that here for? I'd been watching the news.
Yeah, turn the news off.
Turn it off. You'll find out what's happening. But unfortunately, what's happening at the moment with the news and everything is scaring so many people. And it's making matters worse. Yes, we need to know what to be informed, but not on a daily basis, every minute of the day.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because obviously we've lived through pandemics in the past.
Yeah.
And the 1919 pandemic, the Spanish flu, was huge worldwide. Yeah. But of course, we didn't have social media. We didn't have wall-to-wall media. So people, whilst it was devastating. It was devastating across the world, and the second wave was devastating across the world. But in the same token, people, they might have been living, you know, they were just coming out of the war. They'd lived through, you know, the war, the First World War. But they weren't hit wall to wall with news every 2 minutes. With the, you know, we are bombarded. I think I read somewhere that actually years gone by, you know, the sum total of news that we'd been bombarded with would be like, I don't know, the equivalent to the Guardian or the Times or the Sun, and that would be like the sum total. And we get that in about every hour or every half hour, bombarded to us all day long, 24 hours a day if we want to consume it. So what, you know, when you look at that, it's completely disproportionate, isn't it? If we keep listening to the radio and switching the news on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my ex-mother-in-law, because we're still really close. As I said, me and my ex-husband still really close. And she rung me at 4 in the morning. When I came downstairs the next morning, I was like, why are you ringing me? She'd rung my ex-husband and she'd given herself a panic attack.
Yeah.
And she woke my daughter up with a mask on her face. Someone was like, what is going on? She wouldn't allow someone to go and see her. Yet her son is working in a shop and coming home. And I was like, are you making him? No. So someone's not gone anywhere, Mum. And she's just got so panicked.
Yeah.
And to now, she won't see anybody. And it really worries me about her mental health, because she's literally locked in the house on her own all the time. And there's so many people out there now that are exactly the same. And you're right, it's the social media. It's just completely just bombarding people all the time on what's going on. So
yeah,
scary times.
So all the more need to do a 12-week program, all the more need to focus on the positives and to journal. And, you know, it's, I mean, as a therapist, it's something that I, and some of the groups and things that I run, we do journaling. It's part of the process. Like you say, there is neuroscience that backs it up. But yeah, what a great opportunity. So I guess, what is your aspiration for that then? Where do you see that heading? What's your wildest dream for that?
As I say, I didn't see it until January. And then
there's been a huge gift in COVID for you. Huge gift
and I'm a great believer now that life will throw you lemons. You either squeeze them or you throw them away. You know, you either suck that lemon and make it good and make it shock you, or you just go, right, okay, done.
Yeah.
And I've used it as an opportunity. In fact, if I'm honest with you, Lisa, I've enjoyed not running around like an headless chicken.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the calmness of it, because as I said earlier, my daughter, actress, she's also a dancer, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, plus school run. I'll save much more money than a little, and less petrol money. And
you know what? I never put petrol in my car for about 4 months.
No,
it's crazy.
I've enjoyed the calmness of it. But where I see it now, I've been looking at different options, because Growth Development Foundation, I see that as an umbrella to help people who are struggling with mental health. So that could be a therapist on board. I'm not a therapist. I've got a diploma in coaching, but I don't call myself a coach. I'd rather say a mentor, because I don't just talk the talk, I've walked it. So I want to hold people's hand. I don't want to say, right, just crack on. I'll show you the tools. They have to do the action, but I will be there to try and help support them.
Yeah.
So there's several things there. You know, I've sort of looked and gone, charity. Can we do a charity? Can we not do a charity? But one of the things I am working with at the moment is with an 11-year-old child. So we can design another one of these that fits for children.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can see it going in different ways, massively different ways. I first saw it and I thought, you know, and I thought about who it could benefit. And then I thought about myself and who I was. And then I thought, well, actually, there's corporate people out there that are struggling. There is people that are on the, you know, that are unfortunately lost their job, that are struggling. So I'm just trying to spread my wings as far as I can with as many people that could help on board and take it that way.
Fantastic. And before we finish then, as I ask all of my guests, I think you might have already given us one answer anyway, but if you were to give the audience your top tip for life, what would it be, Angie?
Get into personal development. Work harder on you than you do anything else, because your outer world will never far exceed your inner world.
Brilliant. great piece of advice there. Yeah, do the work on yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, can you?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. It's been my absolute pleasure talking to you today. If people watching want to get the journal, how do they go about getting the journal?
The journal is actually on Amazon, and it's
Right.
called How Am I Feeling Today. You see, it's a big, thick book. It's not a small one. And say it's £35, because I know there is someone there called How Are You Feeling Today, but they're probably about £7. But yeah, it's by Angie Simmons, so you'll be able to know the difference.
Brilliant. Well, we'll put all the links up for everybody as well, so that they can see how they can get in contact with you if they also want to take the 12-week program that supports the journal. It's been my absolute pleasure today.
Can I just add to that, Lisa?
Yeah,
I'm launching it in aid of my brother, because that's how it all started, and it's his birthday next month. And as a celebratory thing for my brother, I'm offering the entire course literally half price for next month.
Brilliant. Well, absolutely perfect. So we'll attach all the links to that for anybody who thinks, yeah, that's for me. And it's been my pleasure finding out, and thank you so much for sharing your story in such a heartfelt way. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.